Mount Holyoke College is getting ready to host another annual edition of their student-produced radio show, The Big Broadcast. There'll be music from the swing era, vintage broadcast commercials, and even a radio play created by the Mount Holyoke students themselves. Connecting Point correspondent Carolee McGrath got together with Big Broadcast creator Mark Gianfriddo and the host, 22 News meteorologist Brian Lapis, to learn more.
Well, there's going to be wonderful singing from our vocal jazz ensemble and the big band and chamber jazz. The three jazz ensembles of Mount Holyoke come together to present this, what we consider to be an authentic 1940s radio show. It's filled with music. It's got the commercials, vintage commercials that everybody will remember, and also an authentic radio play that the students put together in the style of the 40s.
So, Brian, tell us your role. I hear you're singing.
I do a little singing, but my dancing and me, very dangerous, so no. But I play Fred Kelly, who is the host of the show. He's the swank, suave, smooth-voiced announcer for the show. So kind of Matt and I, Mark plays the role of Matt Morgan, who's the band leader. Yep. So we're kind of the, I don't know, what's the closest modern day, kind of the Johnny Carson and Doc Severinsen of the Big Broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so why did you come up with this in the first place? I know that this is several years into it now, but why the Big Broadcast as opposed to just another jazz concert?
Well, I was looking for a performance project, something that the students could do that would have kind of a theatrical bent to it, because we don't do many musicals at Mount Holyoke. So I thought it'd be really cool for them to help me create something like this. This actually goes all the way back to a cabaret group that I formed back in the 90s that was called Putting on the Ritz, and we did this show. We did this show called The Big Broadcast on a very, very low, kind of a low-end version of it. When I started the jazz ensembles at Mount Holyoke back in '98, I thought at some point down the road it would be really cool to try to do this thing at Mount Holyoke. And so at 2006, I finally felt that we had the ability to do something like this. And that's when it all started at Mount Holyoke.
So, Brian, you're a busy guy. I know you're a busy guy, too. How do you squeeze this in, and is it a lot of extra work for you?
You know, it isn't. Mark and I will rehearse our singing numbers a couple of weeks before the show, and then there's a few rehearsals that I have to attend. I make this a priority because it's so much fun for me. So this is not work for me. This is, like I said, it's a priority that I will carve out time for until Mark gets sick of having me around.
And this is not your first time. How many years have you been doing this?
I think this is the 8th or 9th.
This is your 9th year.
Okay, yeah.
And did you sing back when you were in college?
I was...
last year?
Singer, that's right.
Right.
Class of 2014. I was a singer in high school and involved in theater in high school. This is a great, I'm kind of a student of broadcasting, so this is a great merge and mix of the theater and the old-time radio when radio was prime time viewing, you know. So it's really cool to go back in time and play that part. I like to tell folks that if I was around in the 1940s, Fred Kelly is the guy that I would want to be.
So some of the students I know write some of the lines for this show. Do they give you something funny to say back to him? Or
Yeah, there's some, these students are really amazingly creative, and let's give the students full credit. These women write all of the libretto of the show, with the exception of the commercials, which are authentically, transposed from the original script. So they do a great job, and there's some really funny stuff. And the radio play that the students write is also original and typically very, very funny.
How long does it take them to put this together each year? Because you switch it up each year, correct?
Yeah, for usually 2 weeks. This year,
2 weeks to write it?
2 weeks to write it, but
really?
but hold on to your seat, because we actually did it in 1 week this year, simply because I wanted to see whether or not if we could really try to work as efficiently as possible. So for 1 week, we all got together, basically me and 2 other students who are my assistant producers, and write the script. They write all of the intros that Fred does. They write the radio play. They write there's a newscast where they took little bits and pieces. The show is kind of timely. We don't really set it in any particular year. We kind of make it so that it's sort of like, is it late 1930s? Is it the 40s? Right. That way we kind of can avoid a little bit of the war, all the stuff that's going on, even though it's obviously the war is still a background, whether you like it or not. Right. So they pull things from different news sources. They put together the newscast, and it's really, really very creative and incredible that these college students who don't have any association with that time period are able to put together something that's so fresh and so timely sounding to that particular era.
And I think we were talking as well about how, as far as music goes, and I'm a singer, I love the music from that era. If I could have been born in a different decade, I think I would have been born back then, because I just love Ella Fitzgerald. I love the Andrews Sisters, Glenn Miller. I love all of that type of music. Do you feel like this kind of brings that out in the audience that comes?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, when they walk right in, first of all, they walk into Chapin Auditorium. We've got Glenn Miller and the Andrews Sisters singing, so they're immediately transported. And again, everybody in the entire show, they have a different name. It's like role-playing. I mean, as Brian said, I'm Matt Morgan, he's Fred Kelly, we're the WJAZ Big Band. And everybody in the show has a different name, a 1940s given name, and it's like a play. And people are in on the joke. We have an applause sign that goes like this when it's time to applaud. So we're basically teaching the audience how to respond in the 1940s style, and so forth. So it's just, we try to cover all the bases with the 1940s experience.
Well, I think it's going to be an awesome show. I think I want to bring my kids to it. So the show is March 6th.
2 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Okay. Chapin Auditorium, Mount Holyoke College.
All right. The best of luck to both of you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
You bet.